We are live. Woohoo! So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Lisa Mizels, and you are on the Expert Interview Series. And we have my guest today is Charlene Burke, and I'm going to tell you about her in just a minute. But I just wanted to, let me get this up. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Expert Interview Series. So, the purpose of this series is to help you move one step further each time I have a guest that is going to tell you about a tip or strategy that is going to help you get an instant win or an instant result in your business if you implement it. So it's to help you start taking action, because that's where people get stuck. They learn all this stuff and it gets stuck in their head. We get overwhelmed and then we don't move forward. So all these tips that my experts are giving you are amazing. And if you just take 1 or 2 steps a day, you're going to find yourself moving forward. And so that's the whole reason why I started this expert interview series, because I realized that people have a hard time implementing what they learn. So again, my name is Lisa Mizels, and I am the host of this expert interview series. And I'm also the founder of the Unleash Your Mojo online brand. And I'm also a host of the Empowered Living Show, which is an internationally acclaimed video show. And so I want to say welcome to my guest, Charlene Burke. Welcome, Charlene.
Oh, hello, Lisa. So good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Now, so Charlene is going to be talking about real learning happens after the training. And this is really interesting. We talked a little bit offline about this last week, right? And it's so interesting that you're absolutely right, and nobody thinks about this. So let me just ask the listeners if you can tell us where you're from, if you can put it into the comment section, and then also, give us a little love, some gifts or emojis or whatever suits you right now. But let us know that we're on the right track, that you love us. Give us some love. All right, Charlene. So let's dive in. Let me tell the listeners a little bit about your background, and then we'll get right to it. Sound okay?
Fabulous.
Okay.
Let's go.
Awesome. So Charlene Burke is an information professional. I don't know why I have a hard time. Information professional and mindset group expert with a background in marketing and engineering. She founded Search by Burke in 2008 and provides businesses with answers to their questions about their customers and the marketplace, assistance with understanding the data about their customers, and the opportunities to connect, collaborate, and grow through mastermind groups. She's a skilled facilitator and partners with those who have a program, online or offline, where the students would benefit from continued support after they've completed the program. Charlene is passionate about making sure that people have the right information and make use of it to grow personally and professionally. And this is shown in her writing of ebooks, helping clients understand the answers that were found, guiding discussions in groups, hosting a virtual networking events, which I've been part of, and more. Her clients call her amazing, and you can call her anytime. I love that, Charlene. Thank you so much. So let's just start by, we learned a little bit about you, but how did you get to be where you are today?
Oh, it is just my story is very similar to everybody else's in terms of I started out doing what I thought I wanted to do, and then I just allowed myself to take the detours as needed. Now, having said that, I look back and can say I allowed myself, but in reality, there have been times when I left claw marks on the carpet because I had to detour, and I was so scared that because I had to, I did. Now I'm grateful I did.
Right. Well, I always tell people, you can navigate what you're really meant to be doing by how much you love it, how much excitement and joy it brings you. And
that's it.
Yeah. If you're trying and forcing and, that's when your claws are dug in, right?
Yes. So for most of my life, I was doing things, I was living according to what I thought I should. That was always in my head. I think I should. Somebody else thought I should. I think they think that I should. I think they think that if they thought any more than I think that, you know what I mean? I mean, I was having full conversations in my head and I was not talking to anybody, but that's how I worked. And so I went through schooling. I did the school that, you know, you're supposed to. I started out in marketing and business because those were the softer skills. I really want, honest to goodness, I remember being a junior in high school and I wanted to take shop and my mother about died. I wanted to take apart a car engine. I figured I needed to know how it worked. And, you know, it'd be good if I had somebody who knew what they were doing to help me put it back together again. She wasn't so thrilled about that. So having said that, I went through, initially in college, it was marketing and business. And I put myself in jobs that just really were not me. And then I was in my 30s and I said, well, we can put a stop to that. I'm an adult now. And what I really want to do is to be, actually what I really wanted to do was to be either a computer programmer or an electronic engineer. I needed to be in the background. I'm a process person. I'm the thinker. I'm an analyzer. Get me lost in the details for 3 days and I'm thrilled kind of person, right? And I was up to that point completely out front, being a spokesperson, completely out front, training and teaching. And, you know, I was good at what I did, but I hated it. So I took myself back to school. And I studied electronic engineering and then got fascinated with robotics, which brought in some of the development and the coding. Wow. And I was a field engineer for many years, traveled the country and fixed and repaired equipment. It was awesome. And then I became a design engineer for a short time. And then all the while being pulled to do my own thing, but I didn't know what my own thing was. I really didn't know, right?
Like we want to do this, but we don't know quite what it looks like.
Exactly. I know. And so what ended up happening is that there was a day when I said, I'm going to figure it out. And I went hunting and I went searching online and I started looking and I found it. It was a business opportunity to do business research. I said, well, I know. And turns out I knew how to do it better than those who had been trained for. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is where I belong. And I started my business officially in June of 2008 because I say that because that's when I got high-speed internet here at the house.
Oh, yeah.
Until then, I was using the library because I didn't have high-speed internet, but I was still able to do something, so I did. So here's the kick. In June of 2008, I have a couple of clients. I'm doing okay, right? This is exactly what I should be doing. September of 2008, the recession hits and everything stops. And from that point forward, it has been a detour and pivot, whatever is necessary. And I am now back to being the information professional business research person that I adore and love, which is if you've got a question that you can't find the answer to, contact me.
So give us an idea of what kind of questions people would ask you.
All right. So manufacturer decides to purchase the rights to a raw material that's only been used in the defense industry and wants to know, is it suitable for private sector? And if it is, where should it be?
Wow.
But on the other hand, could be a longtime client of mine calls me up and says, I have a client who wants to enter into a specific region in the Northeast for a home care. And they can't determine if they want to purchase franchise or if they want to do private. But we need to know if in this region, it's a good idea. Should they even open one? Is there a market for it? Two, Charlene, I'm leaving the government. I'm a leadership transformation coach who is been working in the what we would call international Forbes 100, 500 enterprises, dealing with those CEOs and VPs, government officials of various smaller governments in the US. And they say, I want to enter the private sector, but I have no idea how they speak.
Oh,
So what's the language that my ideal client speaks? Okay. So it's fascinating. It's enjoyable. I'm constantly learning, which is where I thrive. And it's fun.
so how would you describe your ideal client? Like, because it sounds like there's, it's people who need research, people who need to know, about their audience or their sector. But is there a specific group that you target?
I don't target. Mine come to me through referrals.
Isn't that awesome?
Now you say that. Now, on the business research side, I don't target. They come to me by referral or as I'm talking with somebody. And it's because I balance this out by facilitating mastermind groups and accountability groups. And those I can target, right? The trainers I can target, the coaches I can target. But the person who needs the research done, what's happening is they're looking for somebody who not only can find the information, but that they can trust that the information that was found is actually viable.
Yes,
hence the need for being right. So like a recent one was a fella wants an ebook to be used as a lead generator, right, to grow his email list. And it's all about cryptocurrency, but niche down even more, which was how can someone protect themselves when they're using crypto to purchase?
Oh.
So I did that research, but every one of these requires that I know more. So it always is answered with more questions, because this is what the truth of the matter is. You have a question you want answered, but that's really not the answer you're looking for. So I help you to determine really what question are you wanting answered. So we get into a lot of discussion. I learn as much background as I can. And that helps to guide me on what I find for you, but it also helps you to understand what you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
And it works. So
that's great. Now, how did you move into the mastermind and the facilitation and networking?
Well, so many years ago, it was, again, it's this process person, the one in the side, the one who wants to be in the background to make sure things run smoothly. I've always been that person. So whether or not regardless of the company I worked for, I was always the one that got my hands involved in the inner workings of event planning or in the background to make sure that people knew what they were supposed to do. I would then be put in charge of the meetings because I was a natural facilitator. And it was, I had no problem taking my ink pen, or today, would be the flash drive. Now, wait a second, right? Because though I like structure and I like following the rules, especially when you have a group, because when you have a group and you follow the rules, amazing things happen. When you don't have rules in that group, it's just a chaotic mess.
I cannot stand meetings that are chaotic. It's like, come on.
Nothing gets done, right? Everybody says it's a waste of time. So what happened was, here I am, September of 2008, the business is falling apart, right? Because I have no clients now. The recession hits. And I'm in other people who have in the same business opportunity that I had purchased into, the same thing. Well, we started talking to each other. And then we started gathering on the phone just to give each other support. At the same time, I was a member of NABO here in my area, and they had started mastermind groups and asked for people to stand up and lead them. I said, well, I can do that because I know how to facilitate to an outcome, right? Strategic meetings, business meetings, what have you. We just have to figure out what the outcome is we want for the mastermind. And NABO provided that. So, okay, I can do that. So on the one hand, I started leading in-person masterminds at the end of 2008 here in town, and virtual mastermind that it turned into, which was essentially a support system of business researchers who said, I don't know how I'm going to keep my business going. And by the middle of '09 became a mastermind because most of us had turned into online marketing agencies of some sort because that's what everybody was looking for. And I had the skill set, others had the skill set. Before you know it, we're collaborating, we're problem solving, we're brainstorming. And they were relying on me to make sure that the room was always set up, right? Whether it's virtual or in person, the room's always set up, that there was an agenda in place, that when somebody was a steamroller, they were hushed. Everybody had their time, and they just kept looking to me to do that. So I just said, okay. And then from that point, it was always a relief to them, I found out later, because this group actually met until the end of 2016. Oh, wow. So we met regularly for many years. And a few of them have told me throughout all this time, because faces changed and new people had come in, how glad they were that they had somebody that could put a stop to nonsense. And it includes having to ask somebody not come back. Right?
That's the hard part.
Well, and they didn't have to worry about it, see, because I said, well, I'm in the role of having to protect a group. Your nonsense is not allowed. It's not going to happen. And so private conversations, right? Some coaching in between sometimes. And that's what's pretty much happened. Now, all of my groups until 2016 were private and invitation only. And I started opening those up to the public in 2016 as an experiment. And they're being
met, right?
Yeah. And that's all I can say about that. So that's the journey, right? That's how I got to the masterminds. Just kind of fell into it. And then I got some training. And then I completed my training and still complete it through self-study. I have an excellent field guide from a well-known facilitator. And it's a handbook that I can refer to for reference in various types of meetings that I lead. But it also helps me to stay grounded as the facilitator of, be it a study group, an accountability group, or a mastermind group.
And this is really an excellent example of something that I come across a lot with my clients who are just, kind of struggling and just starting out online to get momentum, is that they don't bring all of their skills. So you've got a great mix of offline and online, and you know what you do well, and you can mix the two together. So you can, so you love what you're doing and you're confident, and you are the expert of what you're doing. There's no question there. And I think that's often the missing piece. I know it was for me, was like, I didn't bring all of my skills to the table when I was doing my nutrition stuff. It just like, and there was something that wasn't there. It was not like, it wasn't me. And so when you're able to bring all of who you are and all of your skills, all your backgrounds, all your, like, what you love to do, then it's like easy, right?
It is, it gets that way. Now, part of the journey when you are first starting out in business, if you've not ever owned a business or run a business, I didn't, I was new to this. There's that personal development journey. And today I run groups on the study of success principles, and hear it all the time in there. And I hear it all the time in the masterminds. If you want to really become an outstanding leader, if you want to delve into personal development, go own a business.
Yeah, it is a personal journey, because you have to level up in order to become successful. And each time you level up, you hit a wall. Yes. And you've got to get through that wall, right? And so yes, you've got to explore all the dark parts that are.
Well, I'll tell you what, and this actually is a principle in my Facebook group we've been discussing this past week, is self-discipline. Mm-hmm. It seems that self-discipline is the glue for all of the other successes, right? Every other principle that needs to be applied, commitment, persistence, desire, focus, goal setting, all of, to get things done, requires self-discipline. And that's really the key of what starts to change that leveling up when you hit the wall, to have the self-discipline to keep doing what you're doing just a little bit more so you can get through the wall. And most of the time it means grabbing other people and saying, teach me so that I can be better, because I can only take myself so far.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, very well said. Very well said. So let's talk about your how the learning happens after the actual training, the actual program.
So when attending any type of training or when seeking any type of knowledge or information, so that be that in a classroom setting, a weekend seminar or workshop, online courses, self-study, in a group, whatever that is, when you are initially learning it, you're actually just initially trying to get an understanding of what's being taught.
Yeah.
And so it goes in the head, right? And what happens is it stays in the head and kind of cogitates up there and marinates, and you try to make sense of it, and you might associate it with some, okay, I get it. The truth of the getting is when you can put it into action. So what often happens is that one piece is what somebody will remember and be able to put into action right away, which is why I love this series you're doing. But everything else they learned gets set aside because it wasn't put into action. And when that happens, about a month or two, maybe 3 later, sometimes even as close as 3 weeks, honestly, people I've talked to over the years, they'll be asked, well, what did you learn? It was a great weekend. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Yeah, but what did you learn? Well, I was able to have this conversation at the next networking meeting.
Or I felt so great. Or I was so excited. Or so,
yes, and then what? But what do you mean, then what? No, I was able to have that conversation. You spent $10,000 for that weekend and all you had was a conversation. What did you learn? Oh, well, wait a second. Hold on. Let me get my notes.
Or my
That's what I learned. Well, here's the reality. You really didn't learn that. You made note of it. You learned that what you put into action, because now it became a behavior. Now it became sealed, right? Now you suddenly had proof. That's why it was so exciting. You had proof that it was going to work. Now, just imagine you go to a weekend, you go to a day, you go to a half-day intensive, you go through an online course, whatever, and you've learned that one thing. You know that excitement of being able to apply it. Now think, in 3 months, having been able to apply everything that you learned, to literally be able to say, I learned it, applied it, succeeded 10 times more than I thought I would. That's where it gets exciting for the person. For me, my experience has been, and when I've seen this happen, that's when real learning happens, because learning is more than just knowing. You first have to know, but then when you take it into action, suddenly learning expands you as it should. You grow from it as you should. You're challenged by it. That's where the challenge is. It isn't in the struggle. Trust me, and I will love this, and I do love the struggle and challenge of any mathematical equation, or we can talk physics all day, or philosophy, and that's a mental challenge. But the learning comes in when I'm able to apply it. I'm challenged by it and I'm pushed through. Oh, I made a mistake. I get it. Okay, let me try this then. Even better when you're in a setting that you come back and say, oh man, did I mess up? Oh, that marketing just went, well, what did you do? Somebody else says, what did you do? Let's walk through the mistake so we can learn from it. So it's not a mistake, but instead it's a part of the learning process. Amazing things happen. Absolutely amazing things happen.
How important. So do you partner with people who have trainings or events?
I do.
Yeah.
So for instance, there's a gal that I'm partnering with. She is doing leadership intensives. They're half-day intensive with mid-level managers of an enterprise corporation. So if you can think of retail stores, maybe a national chain, and in one region might be 50 or 60 of those chains in a 3 or 4 state region. Well, those 50 to 60 those 50 or 60 store managers will come in to her place for a half a day intensive. Then they're turned over to me. And I am there to guide them and keep them on track with the goals that were set by the company, the goals they set during the intensive, and the outcome that I've been told by her that the company wants of these managers. So that helps me to make sure that the discussions stay on track, that the problems being solved amongst themselves are in reality conducive to them meeting the goals that were set by the company. And I am introduced as her partner. I belong to her. It is not me and my company. It is Charlene Burke with this company. Another example would be a real estate investor. He's big in commercial real estate. Holds a weekend for 10 to 12 people who've paid a lot of money to spend this weekend with him. He brings me out for the weekend. I'm introduced as you're going to be turned over to Charlene when this is done. And I learn along with them, kind of. But more importantly, they're getting used to who I am. I'm meeting them. I'm figuring out what their goals are, why they're doing what they're doing. He's already got, this is the outcome I expect them to be able to do and implement. Then they're turned over to me and we meet virtually every week. And I'm just keeping them on track. Yeah. I'm the one they come to when they're excited that they made the 10 calls. They sealed the deal. Well, the value to him and the value to her is that I can contact them when I hear something out of one of their students and say, you need to touch base, right? You need to touch base with them because they're excited and they need to be excited. This is what's happening. Meetings are recorded, right? It's not like it's a private session because it's not a group therapy. What it is it's a continuation so that 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, they're actually putting to use that which they set out to learn and succeeding beyond their expectations.
That's so great. I love that. I actually am working with a client that is, her background is e-learning, and she's doing kind of the similar thing, helping people with programs and to, in a way that they actually meet the outcomes and goals and can track it, right? That's the important part. And that sounds like that's the piece that you're taking over, which I can see would be so helpful for people if they don't have time to do that. They, that's not their area of expertise, is that piece of it.
Well, that's it. It's they don't have time, plus they're where they get excited. You had said at the beginning, right? When everything comes together and you get excited, that's when they're designing the program. They're designing the curriculum, they're training the people, seeing the light bulbs go off, and really don't want to have to deal with them 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later, answering what seems like the same question that was answered during the training.
Right.
What do you mean? I've answered it 3 times, really? When in reality, they need to be focused on creating new content, working with new students, getting excited about something new and what they're offering, and turn that over to me so that I can keep their students excited and succeeding. I'm telling you, everybody wins.
Yeah.
The person who brings me in, I'm not an added cost. I'm a percentage of what the students pay. That's all. Yep. They bring me in. They look great because their students are succeeding where other people's students aren't. So their retention is fantastic. The students are doing great because they actually are putting to use what they learned and doing what they wanted to end up doing. And they don't have to worry about everything. Yeah, I'm telling you.
I got result. Yeah. That's a win-win situation. That's awesome. That's amazing. So what is one tip or strategy that can help the listeners, the viewers here today, that they could take away and get a result if they implement it?
Well, okay.
So, I mean, what's just one little step that people can use in their online business
Mhm.
that would help them move forward?
Keep it simple.
Huh?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Oh, that is that. You know what?
And what I mean by that, this is my entire to-do list for today.
Yep.
Because literally that is all I can do. It can get more simple than this.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, when I sat down this morning, well, last night, and I started mapping out kind of an idea of what I was going to tackle this morning, what is it really I can do? Because what ends up happening is if you have a to-do list that you say everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So nothing gets done.
Like this?
Well, that's up to you. I don't know how you do your task list, right? But the reality is, what in reality can I do? And that which has to be done, but I can't do it, gets real simple to say, guess what? I can delegate it to somebody else.
Yeah. So important. And I love that you said keep it simple, because when you were talking, I was thinking about people who have training courses or online courses or whatever, and just give you loads of information. And like you were saying, you can learn so much of it and absorb so much. But what happens is you just get overwhelmed and go, forget it. I can't do it. And then
now I'm not a curriculum designer, just so you know, and I don't have online courses for that reason.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, earlier today, I was on a phone call with my own accountability partner who is saying, Charlene, I love what you do in the group, because I do an introduction by live stream about a success principle, and I limit myself to 30 minutes. Now to me, and I'm just going to show you my notes for this week's principle is over 40 pages long. Okay.
Wow.
To condense this to 30 minutes, I thought I was doing great. She said, you lost me after 10 minutes. So what I say is simple is not necessarily what you say is simple, right? But I'm listening. I'm listening to her, and I'm listening to some members of the group. And I say, you know what? I could easily chunk that into 3 different videos. I can do that. So why don't I? Okay.
Yep.
And that way I'm better serving those who are relying on me and asking me to do this. And it's better for me. I'm being challenged. I'm learning something on how to restrain myself even more and really bring it down to what exactly out of this can we start with, right? Can we get the discussion going with? So always.
Yeah. Super important. I mean, I get really frustrated with some of thinking back to some of the courses that I've been through that are just like, bleh, here it is. And I try really hard with my clients not to do that. I like to simplify and just, streamline, because you can't absorb that much information. It needs to be step by step. So thank you for saying that.
Yes. You're welcome.
So what kind of exciting things do you have coming up?
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. All right. So what gets me excited is I can announce that I am opening up a crypto mastermind group. It is not for beginners, but if somebody's listening right now, it is for those who are developers in the blockchain, who are miners, who are investors, and are willing to pay by Bitcoin to be a member of. I am going to launch a smaller version of my Power of 10, which is Power of 10, Become More, Achieve More, a study of success principles for women business owners. And because that one's pretty intense and it's not for everybody, and it's only for 10 women. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more into more of a study group, and let's discuss and talk about and help each other to actually put these success principles to use and what it looks like in real life, right? I have more ebooks coming out. They're very, very targeted. I just released one about affiliate marketing for the beginner. And I am excited to also offer, I will host your branded mastermind groups. I will facilitate them for you.
Wow.
So if somebody like Gary V, right, or Peter Shankman, they already have their mastermind groups, don't want to run them, I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Such a help for people. I mean, this is on a bigger scale. But I can see where it would be so helpful for people because that's, again, they're not operating in their zone of genius.
Well, they're not. So I want you to think about, I mean, one of them that comes to mind would be somebody like Lisa Sasevich, right? And, or Rhonda Renee Swan of Freedompreneurs. She's the branding expert, right? And she has a following that would love to learn more from her, but she can't be in the middle of all of them all the time. It always has to be by video and then one to everybody else. But wouldn't it be awesome if we could all meet under her name, right? And have discussions and brainstorming about that which she has been teaching.
Yeah.
Right.
So valuable.
So
that's awesome. So where can people find you?
The best place is my website, searchbyburke.com. That is Burke with an E on the end. So it's searchbyburke.com. And from there you can see, that's okay. That's so you can see where everything else is from there.
Yes. And I'm going to put that link in the comment section so everybody can just click on it. And so they can check around and see what's there. And if anybody knows anybody that's an investor in cryptocurrency or any of that, you can refer them on to Charlene. I'm sure she would be appreciative of that. Well, thank you so much. This has been great information, really super important stuff to bring up because it's often not talked about. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for being a guest on the show, and thank you listeners for being here. If you haven't liked my page, please like my page and let us know what kind of comments that you have. If you have any questions for Charlene, put them in the comments below, and I'll be back again next Wednesday and next Friday for more guest interviews and more tips for you. So thank you again, Charlene, and
thank you.
We will see you all